5 years to the deadline. Are we any closer to ending gas flaring in Nigeria? Well, the campaign is on to ensure that Nigeria sits up and ensure that we effect all the policies and programs required. But don't worry, we'll talk about that and more. And the woman will come up at the 5 o'clock hour. Guess who our woman will be today? Just guess. I'm not sure you guessed right, but I'll find out at the 5 o'clock hour. So, Dr. Majeed, there is so much going on in Nigeria. We're just a potpourri of interesting drama and development. 1 minute you just want to focus on why light no day, abi why road no good. Then bam, there's a political drama to distract you at this point in time. Let's start off with your state first off. I don't know, have you gotten any feeler just yet of any say security upheaval, unrest and the likes of it? Because the state government did impose a ban on rally and gathering for fear of a breakdown of law and order because of a senator apparently who is coming into town for her Eid al-Fitr rally. And then the police did give their own bit of advice also and saying, oh, Natasha, don't come around for security reasons. I'm a little curious as to the rally went. Is there something we're missing in the news in terms of the security there?
No, I think the most important thing is that what may have been envisaged by way of maybe the intelligence available to the state government and the security agencies that there could be a breakdown of law and order. That didn't just happen. I mean, and that was because, first, because of that ban on rallies and all that, those who may want to come out and do counter rallies, you know how these things, happen. You know, if somebody's coming home, a senator is coming home to reconnect with her constituents after her suspension and attempts to recall her. So she needed to come home to actually consolidate on her own stronghold and support base, which is expected anyway. Normally, as we know in this climb, those who are opposing her would have also organized some form of counter rallies or counter processions, which sometimes might actually, descend into chaos and all of that. But because of the measures put in place, I believe, no such counter protest was organized. Nothing like that happened. And she also...
But shouldn't have been that the move in the first instance, instead of saying don't come for your rally, to saying the security agencies and perhaps the state would ensure...
She largely complied with the state government regulation or movement that day. She complied.
In what sense?
She didn't come by road. She didn't just organize street processions. So she came by way of a chopper and she landed very close to her country home and simply just moved into the compound where her supporters were gathered in an enclosed environment to, receive her, celebrate her. I had what was like an enclosed rally of some sort, So I think she complied, and she said that she complied. She didn't break any law, she didn't break any regulations, and she also said that she respects the governor, and some stuff like that. So I think at the end of the day, what is important is she was able to make it home. She found an ingenious way to come home.
Yeah.
And she met with her people, and she was well received within the restriction that was imposed. You can still see that she was well received.
Yeah.
And that had earned her some level of confidence. So, like I told you last time, those who want to recall her, and those who don't want her to be recalled, that is her supporters, you can now see that there's a show of us at home. So those who want to recall her should now know that, okay, she still has a strong support base. And all things being equal, if you still want to go ahead with the recall, it means they need to really work hard at it, because you can see clearly that she has some level of substantial support among her people. So, like I told you, it's all politics, really.
Indeed.
So at the end of the day, there wasn't any incidences at all. No security breach, no loss of lives, no injury, nothing. So,
but that's not what Kingsley Fanwo is saying. The Kogi State Commissioner for Information, he's accused Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan of inciting violence during a homecoming rally on Tuesday. The commissioner warned that such allegations. Okay, speaking on the incident, Fanwo criticized Natasha's claim that Senator President Godwin Akpabio Usman Ododo of Kogi State and his predecessors were plotting to assassinate her. Now, I don't know if that's the language she used, but one thing I do know was if anything happens to me, hold these individuals responsible.
The commissioner was reacting to the statement she made while addressing her people. Yes, I think she actually made the claim that, the Senate president, in connivance with the former governor of the state, want to eliminate her and stuff like that. She said so. And, it's a campaign, it's a rally, it's a speech you make at a rally, say a lot of things to gain support, gain sympathy and all of that. So that's what the commissioner apparently was speaking out. I went the commissioner and he actually admitted that she complied with, at least the protocol of movement was complied with. But her statements were inciting and all that. Well, again, if she has said anything that is injurious to anybody or institution, I thought those that are concerned, those that have been so accused by her, to seek redress if they feel that their personalities have been impugned upon by her statement. For example, the Senate president who she accused of wanting to kill her in connivance with the former governor. I'm sure these two gentlemen are in the best position to know whether to ignore what she has said or take legal actions towards getting redress.
Yeah.
I think, but what is important is she complied with the regulations and there was no breach of law and order. We didn't see counter protests or counter rallies. We didn't see infiltration of our own rally too. So,
maybe because there was
a win-win for both sides, if you ask me.
Win-win for both sides.
And again, the governor, like I've read a lot of comments. I think the governor too, despite the fact that he made those regulations, what has become clear is that the governor too exerted a lot of restraint and responsibilities of power, state power, by not forcefully, or should I say using some subterfuge that we've seen in some states where if a governor asks you not to come and you come, they will use all sort of means just to, create a scenario. So in essence, I think But
on what ground would it have been justified with telling someone not to come in? Yes, I know you get intel and privy to certain security intelligence and the likes of it, but wouldn't it be complete abuse of that office and power and your political influence to saying you can't come home?
I don't think they asked her not to come as state government.
The police categorically discouraged her.
The police actually said, don't come because of message. But like I said, she came, she made sure she complied as much as possible with the protocol that was laid down, which is very commendable on her part, really. And she still held a rally within an enclosure, and it was successful. And the state government too, what my major takeaway here is that the state governor, Governor Dodo himself, as what others would have done, if you know what I mean, that doesn't make it right anyway. When a governor does not want you to come to a particular part of the state, we know the kind of things that they can do using
the former governor tried now. Didn't they cut half the road for her? But she got there nonetheless.
But it was not only her. If you know what Dino went through, if you know what Senator Gembe went through, even in fact, the reason she was able to come in then was because it was election. So there's no way. I know what I'm saying in essence. So those who are forgotten know that at least we have people that have put the interest of the people at heart ahead without necessarily compromising security in a way that will lead to loss of life. So I'm saying this because not a single loss of life, not a single stone was thrown at anybody, not a catapult was shot at anybody, nothing happened. Because we've seen real electoral, politically motivated violence in that part of the country. I mean, there was a time that if you're traveling across Kogi to Lagos from Abuja, they had to divert the road through Obajadan because of the constant exchange of fire between political rivals. So all I'm just saying is, so far so good. I'm sure lessons have been learned too. And in summary, a governor has a right, or has a responsibility rather, to ensure security of lives and properties. Yeah. And is empowered to also bring up regulations that may ensure that responsibility is appropriately discharged, including imposition of curfews, restriction of movement. But in doing that too, it shouldn't be politically motivated and targeted at an individual who wants to come home to celebrate with her supporters.
Indeed. Abdulganiyu Jim on Facebook said the God of our distinguished Senator Natasha is bigger than them. And I'm going to leave all of them. Somebody else is saying this is making Natasha a lot bigger, larger than life at this point in time. And there are quite a number of people who seem to think that all of this is giving her a bit more political impetus at this point in time. It's making her a bit more relevant, more out there, and gaining, support for her. So it's good for her political mileage.
So that is the case. It's good for her. Like I said, all of this is just politics, really.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day. So whatever works for anybody, they should be allowed to do it. And if it works for either of the parties or both parties or all parties, It's politics at the end of the day, really.
It is politics at the end of the day. Just so you know, we're live on Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info Abuja on Facebook, at Nigeria Info Abuja on YouTube. Now let's go to a big story for today. Not a lot of people saw it coming, as a matter of fact, and that's the fact that we're going to get a new NNPC boss as perhaps maybe it didn't come as a shocker to him. Sometimes you want to be a fly on the wall to just see how people take this news. Like when the call went through to him and say, okay, you're no longer here. Or is it an email he received or a phone call or got it from? I don't know how this thing is sent out. But President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a sweeping reconstitution of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited board, has sacked the group chief executive officer, GCEO Malam Mele Kolo-Kyari, and the board chair, Chief Pius Akinyelure. President Tinubu also removed all board members appointed with Akinyelure and Kyari in November 2023. This was made public via a statement issued in the early hours of Wednesday by the presidential spokesman, Bayo Onanuga. And according to the statement, the new 11 board has engineer Bashir Bayo Julari as the group CEO and Amadu Musa Kida as non-executive chairman. The statement further stated that Adedakpo Segun, I beg your pardon, who replaced Usman Issa Jia as the chief finance officer last November, has been appointed to the new board by President Tinubu. So 6 board members, non-executive directors, represent the country's geopolitical zone. They are Bello Rabi for Northwest, Yusuf Usman, Northeast, Babs Omotowa, a former managing director of the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas, NLNG, to represent the North Central. And President Tinubu appointed Austin Vuru as non-executive director from the South-South, David Ige as non-executive director from the Southwest, and Henry Obi as non-executive director from the Southeast. Mrs. Linda Shehu Jafia, permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Finance, would represent the ministry on the new board, while Aminu Saeed Ahmed will represent the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. All appointments are effective today, the 2nd of April, 2025. Now, for a long time, people have been calling for the head of Mele Kyari and saying, what is this man still doing in that office? His policies have been problematic, and they just felt like nothing new, nothing fresh. It's about time he heads out the door. And Mr. President took his fine time to get to this very moment. Is it about his tenure, or at this point in time, the president also has read it, that this one has very little to add to this sector at this point in time?
Okay, I do not think essentially it's about Kyari as an individual. I say this because Kyari is just an appointee of the president, and Kyari can only carry out directives and policies of the president. For instance, before this president came, the former president allowed NNPC to do under recovery by way of subsidy, right? And Kyari complied accordingly. Mr. Tinubu came on board as president and said, no longer, no more subsidy, no longer do or something. And he complied accordingly. The former president took some loans, or approved some loans for the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt refinery. Kyari saw that through. So it just depends on what the president wants. But most importantly, Kyari has been there for how many years now? I think since 2018 or so. Can't remember now. He's been there for more than 4 years. Yeah. I can't remember exactly how many years he spent there. Not more than enough for anybody to make an impact or otherwise in an institution. Secondly, he also turned 60 a few months ago. And statutorily, if you know, as he's a someone that grows through the ranks to become the GMD of NNPC. And so, once he turned 60, I should have expected that he himself would have turned in his resignation letter, or put in for retirement rather, because you've turned 60. So I believe once there was even a change coming from the former administration to the current one.
2019. So
that's 6 years, about 6 years,
July
right?
2019.
Okay, so 5 years plus. So once the government that appointed him initially has left, I had expected him to prepare for something like this at any time, because the new government that will come with a new team, a new vision, and a new policy direction. So I think he served his time. I mean, he's been fortunate to have that position for this long. He's turned 60 on the job, so normally he should have put him for retirement by himself, without even being told to do so. Irrespective of the fact that, well, some people can argue that the GMD of NNPC is political by nature as an appointment, but you actually rose through the ranks. You are a staff of the company, and you rose steadily till you became the GMD. So ordinarily, I wanted him to actually put in his papers for retirement and pursuit on leave, except of course the president says stay on by way of extension. Since he didn't get that extension, he should have known that at any time from now he would get a replacement. So he served out his tenure. In fact, the headline should not have read that he was sacked, because for me, he is retired. I mean, he's 60. It's like he has been retired. But it's okay. It's just semantics. Whether sacked, whether retired, it's semantics. He served 5 years plus in a position, such as the group managing director of the NNPC. So he's done his bit. Now, those that are coming in clearly show the direction of the thinking of the president. And I think it's quite refreshing. This set of appointments appear to be very professional. They appear largely devoid of political considerations, at least at the level of the board chairman, the GMD himself, and some of the board members, particularly Baosomoto from my state, who happens to be the former managing director of the NLNG in Bonny. So I think there is an intention to reform the system. That's why they didn't pick a successor from within. So to have brought somebody who has served in the private sector, like somebody like Bashir Ojulari, who has spent almost all of his life in the private sector, and is even a player in the sector as we speak. From being a worker, he has grown through the management cadre to become a player. He owns a stake in the oil and gas industry. So it's like somebody from the private sector entirely to run a state-owned enterprise that is now primed to be competitive, just like any other private sector enterprise. I think it's a good development that they are bringing in core professionals, people from the outside, to rejig the system, because NNPC needs some reforming, really. To reposition NNPC to be like any other world-class oil company, you will need some external stimulus. So bringing in somebody like Ojulari, who had worked in a number of global multinationals, oil multinationals, and bringing in somebody in the caliber of the current chairman that was appointed, who has also served similarly, and who had garnered the experience to complement that of the management. And also, like I said, bringing somebody like Babs Omotua, who served meritoriously well at the NLNG. So I think, for me, we expect so much from this team. But the most important thing is the president will need to give them a direction that is in the interest of the nation, in the interest of the oil and gas sector in the country. Again, if you appoint even the best hands and you tie their hands by pecuniary interests that are not in the interest of the overall generality of the citizens of this country, they can hardly perform. At most, or at best, they will resign and just walk away. But there's some inspiration to this team. You see, there's an appointment that you make, as the president will make, it will inspire some level of hope and like a renewed hope. That, okay, since you've worked successfully in companies like Shell, in ELF, in LNG, and some of those very, very successful and gas companies, we are hoping that they'll be able to replicate the experiences there. The corporate governance code in those countries have made them successful and profitable, and have made them expand all over the world and bringing in revenue to their owners. We'll expect the same thing to apply here. Whatever reforms that are required to make NNPC better than it is today, to make it become our own version of Saudi Aramco, our own version of Brazil's Petrobras, our own version of Russia's Gazprom, it will be very, very welcome. So this appointment inspires hope. Again, thankfully, they didn't appoint politicians. This does not look like appointment that are compensations for political participation or support for the president. This looks more like, look, I want to get the job done.
Someone who is
here.
Grounded in industry and understand how it works.
Done here. And so I've brought in core professionals to come and run this sector. Again, they must be given the free hand and the elbow room to run this industry in line with the intendment of the PIA. I may not necessarily be a fan of the PIA, but whatever it is what, any law you have decided to operate it in line with the intendment, the spirit and the letters of the law in the overall interest of the Nigerian people. So this appointment signals some hope that, okay, NNPC has been removed from the list of patronage dispensing agencies that should be used to compensate.
Isn't too early in the day for us to say that? No, well, patronage in the sense that he is not one of those political faces that the office being compensated with.
But not at the board chairman level and management level. It looks like someone has taken the decision to say, look, let us try and make NNPC work. So at this level, it is hopeful that it is what it is.
How much time are we supposed to give someone like him to seeing if it's going to work or not?
You see, let me tell you,
6 months, 1 year?
No. It can be
Your policy?
It can be 1 day. The first step you take in an office clearly shows the direction we are going to. We don't have the result we are looking for yet, but every single step you take along the line counts. Every single step towards transparency, openness, prudence, efficient management of our oil and gas industry, and the most responsibility that comes with having NNPC as the country's cash cow. So it depends on, from the very first step, it can tell you what the next 2-3 months will look like, what the next 6 months will look like, what the next 1 year will look like. My people said, look, for somebody that will give pounded yam to eat, it is the yam that was boiled for pounding. The portion he gives to you will determine the size of the pounded yam he's going to give to you as well. So, some people also say that a weekend that should be very good, it's on Friday that you will know by what is your bank account. So, it depends on the first step it takes from today that he was up. Today is the effective date of his appointment. Let us see the first step it takes. Let us see his opening statement. Let us see how he moves quickly, like a man that has no time, to realize some of the vision that the president may have for NNPC before bringing him on board. And I believe they would have had conversations between him and the CNC, because the rumor about his appointment has been there for some time. I mean, it has been, that name has been recorded as a possible replacement for Melekiari. So I think that they would have had conversation. I'm sure there's a reason why he has been picked. I pray that this goes well in the interest of our country. But of course, we'll be here. If it doesn't go well, then we'll be here to say that. We had hoped to, our hope was renewed somewhat, but maybe not so, maybe not really.
Indeed.
As some other persons have different ideas from what we are passing from the outside.
All right. When you said the rumor has been there for a while, of him being the possible replacement, people have already said the rumor mill is already rife with who would replace the INEC chairman. His tenure ends by November. And I'm really curious, that rumor mill, the pool, is he giving names at this point in time for Nigerians to work with? Yes. But then, just before we move to the next story, let's piggyback on a comment by Ismail Suleiman on Facebook. And this time around, he's bringing the ethnic dimension to it also, given the fact that President Tinubu has also been accused of, being kind of like using the ethnic coloration in his appointment for certain position. And now, well, on the surface, it looks like someone from the south is coming because someone from the north has been there, even though we shouldn't burden ourselves so much with this. As long as you have the right competent man or woman to do the job, go ahead and do it. But Nigeria is polarized on these lines. And so he's saying, like a lot of people are saying, another man from the southwestern part of the country.
Okay, Kim, let me not waste your time. Ojulari is not from the south.
Where is he from?
He's a northern from Kwara State.
Exactly.
You see, in as much as we...
So that's not central.
That's not central. That's northern Nigeria.
So it brings us to the next comment of the next person who is saying a Yoruba northerner again. No, so are we ever going to get to the point where we...
saying, for instance, that the Yorubas in northern Nigeria will cease to exist because the Yoruba man from the south is president? Now, Kyari has been there since 2015. Before Kyari, it was Bekati Baru from the northeast as well. Before then, it was briefly Kachuku from south. Before it was maybe Minister of State. And, NNPC was left to be run by Mekanti Baru first and then Mele Kyari. Now, the town of the board is from Borno State, where Mele Kyari comes from too. And all of the geopolitics have a representative in the board as well. So if the former GMD is from Borno, northern Nigeria, and the current GMD is also from Kwara, northern Nigeria. But this time he's Yoruba. So it's possible to be Yoruba and northern Nigerian. In the same way it is possible to be Igbo and northern Nigeria. People don't know this. There are indigenous Igbos in Kogi and Benue. Now let me now say this. For me, I understand the fear, because most people don't know that he's not from Southwest. And because he's Yoruba, and the president is Yoruba, it raises a lot of flags. But one thing is for sure, again, being Yoruba and being in northern Nigerian should not preclude you from having an appointment under a Yoruba president from the Southwest. And this is very important for us to know. Otherwise, we would have deprived the rights of those from northern Nigeria that simply happen to be Yoruba from having a fair share of, their right to be appointed into government. Our Attorney General today, Latifumi, is also from the northern part of this country, from Kwara. He happens to be Yoruba by identity. That shouldn't disqualify him, because we operate a geopolitical basis. I understand that we need to balance ethnicity sometimes with some of these things. But in this instance, though, I still don't see anything wrong with this appointment. Maybe if you want to now compare it with other appointments that the man has made, the numbers of Yorubas, we can have a different conversation about that. But the fact is, this man is from northern Nigeria, and he being a Yoruba man should not deny him access to power or government appointment just because somebody from Southwest that happens to also be Yoruba.
When do you think we're going to go back past this, where we will not always bring this?
Okay, now,
the region of the person or the religion of the person will always be a factor.
And this is my forte. Nigeria has not evolved into a nation since 1960, and it's unfortunate. Ordinarily, a country such as Nigeria, and any country that, for that matter, should be run along strict meritorious lines, devoid of nepotism, cronyism, favoritism, tribalism, and all that. But that has not happened. So the fear of domination, because indeed some letters have dominated others, that fear is real. People dominate others. For Nigerians, generally, their political leadership is steeped in tribalism, nepotism, religious bigotry, and all sorts of isms, and it is true. So that is the fear we see people always expressing. Is there a plan for an ethnic group to take over some of the juiciest parastatals in government? We know that this fear is real. It is there. To accomplish, we take leadership by example. For example, Tinubu is president today. He's Yoruba, right? And he's from the Southwest. If for any reason he's able to demonstrate the oneness of Nigeria by giving appointments to people based on merit and less on ethnic and regional basis, he would have gone a step further in making Nigeria a united and cohesive nation. But if he continues the same pattern of the previous administration that openly favored his own section of the country one above others, then he would have been taking us many steps backwards into the primitive state that is submission in nature, where life is brutish, dancing, and short. So it's everything about leadership. It takes a leader to weld the country together. I keep saying this about northern Nigeria. Ahmadu Bello was premier of northern Nigeria. Ahmadu Bello was particular about the region. Where Awolowo was particular about Yoruba, I'm a Yoruba man first before I'm a Nigerian. Ahmadu Bello was about northern Nigeria, region, geography. Azikiwe was about Nigeria. You see the difference? Azikiwe was about Nigeria. Awolowo was about Yoruba, the Yoruba nation. Ahmadu Bello was about northern region. Now this is the difference. While being Yoruba is a bit narrow, because western region, as at 1960, before Midweek was excised from western region, had other ethnic groups, including Igbo-speaking people, Edo people, and many other ethnic groups in the old western region, which included current-day Edo and Delta states, right? Now, so because the leader says he's Yoruba, he has a tendency that, okay, are you sure he's not going to marginalize the non-Yoruba minorities in the larger western region? Well, to God be the glory, he didn't do that anyway, but I'm just saying. Now, coming to the north, Ahmadu Bello said it was not. He didn't say I'm Fulani, he didn't say I'm Hausa. He said northern Nigeria. Meaning, northern Nigeria, as at that time, was comprised of the 19 northern states you have today, including Kwara, Kogi, and Benue. And so, under Ahmadu Bello's philosophy, he was able to weld the mosaic that was northern Nigeria of almost 500 ethnic groups, including Yorubas, including Igbos, including Hausas, Fulani, all of us. He was able to create an identity called Arewa. That's why it was possible for a Yoruba man in northern Nigeria then to identify proudly as a northern Nigerian. An Igala man identified proudly as a northern Nigerian. All ethnic groups were proudly northern Nigerian. Arewa was the identity. Arewa was the geography. It was not Hausa, it was not Fulani. If Ahmadu Bello could do it in northern Nigeria, it means a leader that decides to weld Nigeria together can also do it. And how did he do it? He gave everybody a sense of belonging. There was this sense of belonging. There was this even distribution of projects across northern Nigeria. There was an effort towards creating that sense of oneness. So, for example, if you look at this kitchen cabinet, then you have people like J.S. Olawin from Ilorin, have people like Sadam Kekere from Kaba. What's his name now? Awoni. You have people like P.S. Achimugu from Ida. You have people like Waziri in Shandam, Michael Buba from Plateau State. You had people like Mumuni Atta from Okene, who was his personal physician. You had Malam Lemu from Niger. You had Mahmoud Atta, who was his deputy protocol. You had people from almost ethnic groups around the premier. And so that made Dr. Nigeria very monolithic at that time.
Dr. Majeed, I should have asked you this question because I know that it has become a class.
It takes leadership to build a nation.
All right.
By example. You have to lead by example in this regard.
Lead by example. Talking about leading by example, the president is off to Paris, the French capital. In a statement by Onanuga, special advisor to the president on information and strategy, said during the short working visit, President Tinubu will review his administration's achievements so far, that he will depart for Paris today on a short working visit. And during the visit, the president will praise his administration's midterm performance and assess key milestones. He will also use the retreat to review the progress of ongoing reforms and engage in strategic planning ahead of his administration's second anniversary. This period of reflection would inform plans to deepen ongoing reforms and accelerate national development priority in the coming year. That recent economic strides reinforce the president's commitment to these efforts, as evidenced by the Central Bank of Nigeria reporting a significant increase in net foreign exchange reserve to about $23.11 billion. A statement to the administration's fiscal reforms since 2023, when net reserve were $3.99 billion. And he said, while away, the president will remain fully engaged with his cabinet and continue to oversee governance activities, and added that the president will return to Nigeria in about 2 weeks. That the president has embarked on the raft of working private visit to France since his inauguration in May 2029. We've seen quite a number of them. The former administration was London. We started calling him the London boy. And I think for him, he likes either the croissant in France. There must be something about the snacks. Excellent. Maybe, just maybe. We're not chummy. I would have said, get me a perfume on your way back. But it is what he said. So 2 weeks. 2 weeks of, and he said it's a short one. When I go 2 weeks, they know I've gone on my proper annual leave.
You see, for me, first and foremost, I don't think there's anything called working holiday. I've said it severally. It doesn't exist. You're not on holiday or you're working. And if you're working, you should be working from your designated office in and around your area of responsibility of that work you're doing, which is in this case, Asobila and Nigeria. And if you must go on holiday, go on holiday.
And rest properly.
If you're going to go on holiday, please do the needful. Nigeria is a half year for Nigeria. There's no law you bring that cannot be circumvented. There's none. It's because so serious that if for 1 day you're going to rest or holiday, hand over to your vice president. It is there. The last administration initially was, okay, they will go and hand over. After they have took some decisions that offended the cabal, what we saw was that if the 21 days that was being the constitution about to be met, the president will arrive a few days to take a few days off work and then take off again. They were just doing it that way just to make sure that they don't hand over to the vice president at the time. We see that pattern again this time around. If you must travel 1 day for holiday, you're supposed to hand over diligently without being compelled to. Nobody needs to tell you to your vice to continue the task of piloting the affairs of the state. That's on one hand.
Yeah.
Then secondly, Mr. President, maybe somebody needs to tell him, your politics are not working.
Okay.
No matter how hard they try to regurgitate this narrative, it is not working. There is widespread hunger and despondency in the air. Let me tell you what's happening in Nigeria today. The political leadership has failed Nigeria across board, both in the ruling party and, of course, in the opposition party. And because people no longer trust both the ruling party and the opposition party, there's a growing anti-government and anti-establishment sentiment that is even choking. It's growing. It's like people are so angry that even the regulation by government, either at the center or at the state, are no longer obeyed by the people. It's like there is a silent revolution going on in the heads of the people. So you see the 100 days challenge on TikTok.
100 days rant, 30 days
or something. These are telltale signs of Things are not going on well. People can no longer feed well. Since the president came on board, his policies have reduced the standard of living of overwhelming number of Nigerians. And there is no reprieve inside because, again, I keep describing the present policy as one that is like you've thrown people into a hole. I am still digging that hole. Meaning there's no light at the end of that tunnel at all. That is where we are now. And, Mr. President, if you keep doubling down on your policies as though they are working, and you realize statistics that are not of any impact, of no effect on the lives of the people, you are provoking the people really to say, it's like, is this deliberate to punish us, impoverish us, so that we can continue to dominate and rule us? Is that what it is? So that we can no longer resist? If when you eat 3 square meters, you can go out and square out and protest or go out and campaign for an alternative candidate. Is that what it is? Well, so the policies that we are calling reforms have already started in deforming this economy almost beyond redemption.
No, is that not exaggerating it? Are we ever going to say we're beyond
when
redemption?
are we going to get out of this problem? Look at all of the indices. What is the value of the current minimum wage compared to even the old minimum wage of 30,000 naira 5 years ago, for instance? What is the value of what used is 70,000 naira today? 30K as at May 29, before 10 a.m. that they made that statement.
Subsidies
has more value to that day than the 70K we are paid as citizens today. That has been the depreciation. When we talk about the inflation coming down, it has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with any deliberate policy of the government. It's simply a fluctuation of harvest season and planting season in terms of food. But even at that level, I keep saying something. If you met the price of a cup of gari, for instance, at 10 naira, and you took it to almost 100 naira, and somehow for the dynamics of harvest and planting, whatever, it came down to 19 naira. Is that something to celebrate? Ordinarily, if you met something at 10 naira, you are supposed to be working towards making it at least 8 naira. If you can make it 5. So you can't keep, doubling down on what is clearly a failure of economic planning, error of economic choices at the highest level, and put Nigerians to be happy. They're not happy with you. They're not happy. You are seeing the telltale signs everywhere. And again, you wonder, is it that if nobody's paying attention to what is happening? I am paying attention. I'm on the streets. I mix up with the people. People are unusually very angry. Nigerians are very supportive of their government. Nigerians support. They like to give opportunity to government. Even though they criticize government so much, people feel, I take it easy now, maybe they are trying. No, it's like people will say we're not doing enough. I said, what else can we do? The situation is getting worse every day.
Well, the thing is, if you listen to the government, their perspective is we're putting everything on ground to achieving that. It's not going to be a smooth road. The president on several occasions during his broadcast has come out to say, I wish there was another way around it, but these are tough calls that need to be made. And we are saying
there is another way. We said it before he was inaugurated.
Which way? Bring back subsidy.
Class suicide.
Oh, class suicide way.
Look, I have my fears about this country, and I'll tell you today. People have lost faith in what we call democratic process in this country. People have lost faith. And when people begin to think, revolution is like a thought, it's like suicidal thoughts of suicide to a depressed mind. When they feel they have nothing to lose, they can put down the roof. In this country, ENDS has happened. After ENDS, I thought you were saying the last of it, we now saw end hunger protests.
End bad governance.
End bad governance, and so on and so forth. We don't know the next one that will happen. The government is taking the people for granted, and as a Nigerian and as a friend and a lover of the president, this is an open appeal to tell him that something is not right about this country. The airy silence you are seeing, there's this airy silence everywhere that is deafening. If only a perceptive mind.
Isn't it about Nigerians having the ability you can beat us to shape? That's very typical. That's where the resilience come into saying, well, the minute you just feel like...
It was before that Nigerians had that kind of religion, because you know why?
Nigerians have changed all of a sudden.
Things were not as bad as this. I'll tell you something. Up until 2011, or even 15, a lot of Nigerians didn't care who was president or governor. Because certain basics were just there.
The same Nigerians that I know, Dr. Majeed.
Yes.
Nigerians have always cared.
No. I'll tell you something. There was this time that people used to tell people to say, okay, on election day you are sitting on the streets playing football. Right? You don't register to vote. So it's only the countryside folks that register to vote that are getting manipulated by the big guys to vote certain direction. There was this talk. It was true. You know why? Foreign exchange was stable. It was manageable. So why do you have to stress about who's president? Inflation was under control. Successive governments in 1999 tried to at least manage the economy in a way that wasn't very disruptive. Right? And 215 happened. Okay, but was Boko Haram? There was what was perceived as corruption in the polity.
All right.
And so more Nigerians came out for the first time to vote for or against the contending candidates. That was when Nigerians lost their innocence. Because Buhari's 8 years now proved to everybody that government is God on earth. If you don't participate, who becomes? That was the obedient moment you saw in 2023. I'm saying let them become more aware. But they seem to be losing faith in the political system, in the legal system. And when people begin to lose faith like this, they're going to think of alternatives. We don't need to get there because the reign of terror that will follow will affect everybody.
All right. I don't want to ask you what the alternative is because I've seen the history of this country where we have gone and felt, civilian isn't working, and you call to a certain extent. It's a dog whistle. How do they call it? Where you don't know you're doing it, but you're calling for the military, and then they will come and justify corruption.
We don't want to get there. But for us not to get there, because I'm not in control,
it's
for you that is there now, commit class to kill corruption.
All right.
Kill it entirely. You can do it. It's a constitutional duty on that you swore to do. Kill it. Stop it. Stop the system.
All right.
Money will be freed up to take care of the welfare and security of citizens.
Well, Dr. Majeed, let's get fill the polls of the list now. We've looked at 3 of our big stories today, and we'll welcome your perspective from what our guests have said. If you beg to differ, feel free to touch on it. So we'd look at it. But you know what? Because you have 1 minute, 30 seconds tops, you can't do more than one story. So perhaps you just take one of the 3 that interest you the most. If it's about the president's trip to France, we'll be good for 2 weeks, and it will be a working vacay. Or Mele Kyari, who is out the door, and a new man who is manning the NNPC. And it feels like all eyes are on him from the jump to say what policy is he going to introduce and what miracle is going to do at this point in time, because it's bordering a miracle at this point for us in the country. You can talk about these stories and more. And then we talked about Natasha also, where initially the police said, well, the police did say don't come for the rally for security reasons. And the state government also imposed a restriction on rallying and gathering. But she flew there and she held her rally, and it was relatively peaceful. And some say you're making the Sumani bit more powerful at this point in time. Call me up on 0700 951 0000, 0809 5974 869, or 0809 9930 137. Hello.
Kim, how are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
And good afternoon to Dr. Majeed.
Good afternoon.
This is Ma's Destiny Anthony. Kim, on our president going to France, I don't tire. Maybe just they go. In fact, it looks like we need to have another presidential villa either in France or London. That is on a lighter note. But the Mele Kyari going is a good one. The man has overstayed. It's obvious he has nothing to offer us anymore. So we welcome this new set of guys. And just like Dr. Majeed said, I think that we have professionals now. I don't see these ones, coming like they are political appointees. This looks like professionals. Let's just hope. The only challenge I have, if truly he's going to give them free hand to, operate and make things better, let this fuel be available. Look at the CNG that they say people should convert their cars to. You need to see queues on road just for you to buy the gas. So they need to do that and address this and bring down the cost of, the price of petroleum as well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Kim and Dr. My name is Emeka.
Welcome, Emeka.
I want to salute Dr. Majeed. In fact, he's one of the greatest. In fact, he's my hero. He's one of the greatest analyst, political analyst, I don't like to miss. I always love to listen to him because every of his comment is facts. And the thing is that they know all these things. Even the APC know these things. And in terms of Mary Kiari, in fact, all his chemistries for president to retain him failed. Remember that it is just within 6 months. He knew that he doesn't have time. The last 6 months to the end of this, he started working. The refinery of Port Harcourt is working. He started refining. Not that this chapter that they would just got missed and said the refinery is working and all these things. But thank God the president have understood all these things and made. Just like Dr. Majeed have said, I pray give the newly appointed members the free hand to operate so that NNPC will change. They need restructuring in NNPC.
All right,
the arrangements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Peter Tex on YouTube says, good afternoon, Dr. Majeed. Those coming wouldn't change anything. Nothing will change. We're all in this together. So this man has very little faith at this point in time. And it kind of like corroborates your point, actually. Peter Ode says, good day, Kim and Dr. Majeed. The problem of the country is enormous. Every institution in the country is being politically influenced and compromised. Politics has done us more harm than good. God help us. Hafsat Mazu says, okay, Hafsat, good to know you're listening. Chijoke Manekwe, thank you very much. We see you. Let's hear this caller. Hello? Hello? Good afternoon.
Good evening, Kim.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Dr. Majeed.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
The only one that I always take my time to listen to. Even though sometimes when they want to talk all of it to Majeed, I get it talks up, but I understand. First of all, Kim, I want to say a big shout out to Natasha. Natasha, we hold it. Honestly, I do love her. She came like a James Bond. They feel too sweet. So that's for me. It will give them blood pressure, and it's okay for me. And for Kimberly or the Kelly, it's not today. He has been there all this while. And I said it that it will not be easy to take him out. Now that it's out, let's see what is the next step. Therefore,
all right.
Everyday France, Francophone country. Why? The other old one, UK. This one, France.
All right, thank you. Maybe you need to learn French. That's what. Onogu Adai says, I hope Natasha has the last laugh. If not, she would regret everything she's doing now. Because at the moment, she's not playing mature, he said. And Tina Okoye says she came in James Bond style. Natasha, we hail thee. I love your type and your style. Show them, pepper them, make their body hot, too hot. From Tyra. Oh, you just called anyway. And Kenneth Bello says they are making her more popular if she throws in the towel for the next gubernatorial election or throws a hat in the ring. You mean to say she would defeat Ododo hands down. All right, this person is getting very ambitious here at this point in time. And let's see here quickly. Daniel from AYA says, good afternoon, Dr. Majeed. What Natasha said was not a political statement. She must have had an evidence for her claim. I don't really trust these men against Senator Natasha. I love the way she made it known to Nigerians that everyone should be aware. The earlier they make peace with Natasha, the better for them. Imagine a governor threatening people not to come out because of a woman senator. Daniel, why are you putting it that way? Woman senator, save. Now, Governor Dodo is now acting like... because it's only unknown gunmen that can threaten people not to come out. Natasha will pull all of them down politically. All right, sure, okay, all right. And people getting too excited with this Natasha drama because she's now looking like Captain Fantastic, Captain America, like a cape, like, boy, I can get it all done in Nigeria. Let's run for the news at the top of the hour. Dr. Majeed is still here. Remember, it's the midweek special, so we hold on to him for 90 minutes, so stick around. Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.